My next guest has witnessed a series of medical miracles during his 30-year career as a surgeon who helped patients become aware of their own healing abilities. And now he's sharing his stories in a new book called A Book of Miracles. Joining us now via Skype is Bernie Siegel. Welcome, Dr. Bernie Siegel. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Let's just get right into it because this book is all about the miracles that you've witnessed. Tell us about one miracle that you want to share with us today.
Oh, it's hard to
Just
you know, you have a
one.
book full to pick one out. But the one that has always impressed me, because it's never taught to doctors, and, as part of our training.
Right.
Carl Jung, maybe 100 years ago, diagnosed a brain tumor from a dream, and they don't tell you that in medical school. And one of the stories, this woman went to sleep. In the dream, a dark-skinned woman with an accent appears and tells her she has a lump in her right breast that needs to be evaluated. She goes to the hospital, and to make a long story short, it's diagnosed as breast cancer. They tell her, after they give her the diagnosis, that the doctor who will be treating her and her, for a cancer,
Right,
will be coming into the room in a few minutes. And who walks into the room? A female doctor from India.
Wow.
With an accent, who was the woman in her dream.
So her dream was precognitive to some extent.
That's right. To me, it's a big part of consciousness, that it's even the near-death experience, all these things are related to the fact that the consciousness never ends, even when our body does, and that we can communicate through the consciousness. But you have to have a quiet mind to be able to do that.
So quieting your mind, what's one way to quiet the mind? Our minds we have so much chatter going on in our heads.
I use the comparison to many myths and fairy tales where there is a still pond.
Oh, right.
So the ugly duckling sees he's a swan when he isn't saying, "Oh, my mother threw me out of the house. Oh, I'm ugly. Oh." The water's quiet. He looks down. Hey, I'm a swan. I'm a beautiful person. And a tiger brought up by goats when his mother dies, also, another tiger comes along and says, "Hey, stupid, what are you doing here? You're not a goat." Where does he take him? And Joseph Campbell used this to discuss it. He said he takes him to a still pond and says, "Look, you look like me." But Campbell compares it again. What's the stillness? Meditation, yoga. You quiet your mind.
And oftentimes your mind is going to talk anyway. And I think it's important to really disregard those thoughts and just allow yourself to be comfortable with those thoughts. I like to think of those thoughts like floating away on a cloud or in a cartoon, just so that you see them going and can get to a place of stillness.
Yeah, you let go. I mean, I heard the same theme from my animal intuitive friend, Amelia Kincaid, because she said to me, "Bertie, if you stand there screaming your animal's name, in a panic, when the pet disappears, you're never going to have a response. But when you quiet your mind, you get into the animal's mind." And this has occurred many times, because we have a lot of pets.
Right.
And I have to say, there are times when Amelia has been halfway around the world teaching classes, and I send her an email saying, "I can't find my cat or my dog or whatever," and she'll tell me exactly where it is. I mean, she describes where it is.
Right, so you're also talking about an animal communicator. I actually had an animal communicator talk to a deceased cat of mine who said that she was afraid to die and needed some help, which is interesting. You talk about being able to create us being younger, being more youthful. How do we do that? With our mind?
Well, my sense of humor is, if you never know what time it is, how can you get older? And what I found out, because this happened to me, and that's really what woke me up. I had a back injury, but when I was standing in the operating room, I could stand for hours with no pain until the operation was over. At home, if I was painting portraits, I could stand for hours in front of the easel. But as soon as I was done painting, I'm on the floor or on the sofa. And the same in the operating room. I'd lie down on the floor when the surgery was over. And I thought, this is amazing. Because not only was I in a trance in the sense of my body,
Right.
but I also had no sense of time.
Right.
Because while I was painting, I happened to get a phone call that interrupted me one day. And I said, my wife is away, because that's who they were looking for. She'll be back in a few hours, so call back then. And the phone rang, and I answered it, and it was the same person. I said, what the hell's the matter with you? You're going to call me every 15 minutes. And he said, excuse me, Bernie, it's 2 hours since my last phone call.
So what you're saying,
I only got
right.
15 minutes older.
So Bernie, people can experience this not only when they're meditating. I've experienced it when I'm writing. It's something that you can actually do, like you said, with the power of your mind and that amazing ability that we have with our sense of consciousness that's so huge.
See, the miracles,
and we only were, right, we're back to miracles.
What I say to people is a biblical line. I place before you life and death, good and evil. What are we told to choose? Life. So when you choose what's life-enhancing, not only for yourself, but for others, you see, and you're contributing in a creative way, then time ceases.
So Bernie, what you're saying is choose life, not just in a selfish way, and we're running out of time, but to choose life on a really global scale for everybody, including our animals. Thank you so much, Bernie Siegel. You are a miracle.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks. Stay tuned when we uncover one of the top scientific trends of 2015, one that doctors say could be the key to protecting everyone in the future. Curious? Find out when we return in just a few moments.